Are you adjusting to the new normal where you live? Here in Madrid, we've been out of quarantine for a couple of weeks now. And in this video, I want to show you how things have changed. And it's been interesting considering how strict lockdown was for a couple of months. The government lifted the state of alarm a few weeks ago, and this means that quarantine is over, but with a few guidelines to be followed in this new situation. So a minimum of 2 meters social distancing is to be observed by everyone, and when this is not possible, you have to wear a mask. Of course, it's very difficult to be 2 meters away from people all the time, especially in the streets where there are more people now who are out and about and indoors, so it's just more prudent to wear a mask all the time. Some establishments are still closed, but those that are open, such as bars, restaurants, theaters, some gyms, they still cannot operate at full capacity. Madrid has slowly been coming back to life with more people on the street and more cars on the road. It's not as busy as it used to be, but Madrid is slowly getting back to what it was before. Now, during the quarantine, I was one of those people who did not leave the house for any reason. I just had my groceries delivered, and thankfully it was available here, and it still is available here, so I didn't have to venture out because I was still a little bit worried about the situation. And my apartment is really tiny, but I chose to stay here instead of going out and face, my imagined dangers. Now that we're free to go out, I still don't feel very comfortable being out and about in public because, well, we know that the virus is still very much around. But I also know that if I am to get used to normal life again, I have to go back to doing the things that I used to do so that I will have some semblance of normalcy in my life. Here in Madrid, I usually walk to the places I need to go to, especially if I have the time to spare. But if it's some distance away, I usually take the metro, which is a very important part of life in this city. So they're taking a lot of measures to make sure that the people riding the metro will be safe. You have to wear a mask if you are going to ride the metro. You also have to maintain the social distance of 1.5 to 2 meters away from other people, although with the increasing number of passengers in the metro, this is getting harder and harder to do. For example, in the early days, you could have like 2 seats between you and another person, but now there are more people out and about, so sometimes people do tend to sit beside each other. Because this social distance cannot always be kept within the metro, then I just feel more comfortable that everyone else is wearing a mask. I took the metro to the first place that I wanted to go to after quarantine was lifted, and that a place that I would be comfortable to be in, and this was the badminton court. In the place I go to, there are 3 courts, and only the 2 courts that were furthest from each other were open so that the players would feel a little more comfortable with some distance between them. At first, my friends only wanted to play singles because they weren't comfortable having to play with a partner, but eventually we ended up playing with doubles with 2 on each side because we do trust our friends that everyone's taking the right precautions. I did start going to the supermarket again to buy my food. This does save me the delivery fee that I used to pay whenever I had my groceries delivered. There's more stuff to choose from in the supermarket, and they are taking some safety precautions so that I don't feel so unsafe when I do buy my groceries. Another thing I wanted to try was eat at a restaurant. Some restaurants are more cautious than others, so I chose this place which seemed to have a lot of safety measures in place. So in this restaurant, there's hand gel that you need to use before you go inside the place. There's also a digital menu so that you don't touch the menus that other people may have touched. And then the eating utensils were individually packed so that you know that no one else has touched them after they were disinfected. There were also partitions between the tables so that you have this, this level of security of being separate from other people. Not all restaurants have these measures though, so it depends on your level of comfort, your level of security when you go out. If you're fine with having people a bit closer to you, then that's really up to you, although it's always more prudent to exercise social distancing. But one other thing that I missed during the lockdown was going to parks. So I didn't mind so much going back to the parks because, they're open air, so transmission of the virus is less likely to happen, especially if you keep the distance between people. Although in some parks there are limits to how many people can stay in certain areas, you know, such as children's playgrounds. Being cooped up in the house for months, that's what I really missed. It was seeing nature, seeing some trees, and hearing the birds. So that was one place I was really excited to go to after the quarantine was lifted. A lot of shops are now open, but I haven't really been tempted to go inside because I'm not really much of a shopper. Besides, I don't think I'll be really going to a lot of places this year, so I'm not really in the mood to buy new clothes for myself. A lot of shops are on sale, trying to tempt the consumers with drop down, really bargain prices now. For people who like sports, there's now a chance to engage in these activities that you used to. Swimming pools are now open, and of course the badminton court, as I mentioned, is open. Some paddle courts and tennis courts are open, but some gyms are not open yet. A lot of places are still closed. There's some shops that are closed, some restaurants, and sometimes I worry that some of my favorite restaurants might be shut down for good. Things continue to change on a daily basis, and we do need some time to get used to this new situation. I hope you are adjusting well to the new normal in your city. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, ciao chicos!